Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Dread Time Stories. I'm your host, Dr. Phobia, and tonight, dear patients, before we begin this long-awaited video, I wanted to make a quick announcement. I actually will be going to OhioCon in Columbus, Ohio, this coming weekend. Now, if you are planning to be there as well, please leave a comment below and let me know. I would love to meet up with some of the community and sit down and talk with you guys and all that fun stuff. So, like I said, if you're going to be there, please leave a comment below. It would make my entire weekend if I ran into someone from the community. Now, like I said, this video has been long awaited, so sit back, relax, and enjoy tonight's tale, Truly Terrifying, Volume 4. So let me just start off by saying that this is not going to be the creepiest story that you've ever heard. It probably won't even make the top 1,000, but it is all true, and it bothers me, so I figured I would share it here. This happened to me about 2 years ago. I want to preface that I'm still a driver for Uber. I'm just a lot more careful when I go out on my runs. So it was a Wednesday. I had had 2 previous pickups and decided to try to go for a third. After waiting for about 10 minutes, a ride notification popped up on my screen for a man named Tim. Looked like your typical middle-aged white guy. So I headed off in the direction it said Tim's house was. I arrived in this very upscale neighborhood. I mean, I'm talking to the point where they had gated security, and I had to get verification from Tim to even be allowed into the plat. So I drove to his house, and standing at the bottom of the driveway was, in fact, a typical middle-aged white guy, wearing a pink polo, black dress pants, black dress shoes, and horn-rimmed glasses. He couldn't have been any waspier if he tried. I asked if he was Tim, and of course he replied with yes. I asked then if I could put his bags in the back of the car. He said, "No, I'll get them. Just pop the trunk." So he threw his bags in the back, shut the lid, and then climbed into the passenger seat next to me, which was kind of weird. Most people I pick up ride in the back. So he told me he needed to go to the airport, and we made small talk the entire way. He asked a few things about me, I asked a few things about him, and eventually it came up in conversation about why he was going to the airport. Turns out that he had met a girl from the Philippines, and they had been talking for about 3 years and seen each other multiple times, and this was the last trip. He was going to pick her up and bring her back to the States, and they were going to get married. I thought that was so cool, being in my early 20s and single at the time. If that man could find love all the way across the ocean, then maybe I could find somebody. So we arrived at the airport at the Delta gate, and I dropped him off. He grabbed his bags and turned back into the window and handed me a 50 with a big smile that almost blinded me. I mean, that's how white this dude's teeth was. We said our goodbyes, and he took off. I didn't think anything of it until I got home that night, and nothing good was on TV, so I flipped over to the news. And when I did, my jaw nearly hit the floor. That same house that I had picked up Tim at was on TV. It was a crime scene. They were interviewing the security guard, asking if he had seen or heard anything, but he said he didn't. Apparently, Tim's name really wasn't Tim, it was Phil, and apparently Phil wasn't single at all. He had a wife and 3 kids, which he bludgeoned to death with a 9-iron, and then called me to take him to the airport. I called the police immediately and told them everything. They sent over an officer and also sent a couple to the airport, but he was long gone by the time they got there. The 2 reasons why this bothers me is because I never really got closure. He was never caught, and God knows where he is today. And the other thing too, if you don't think this story is really that scary, think of it this way. This man killed his entire family with a golf club. People that he loved, supposedly. If I would have even caught on at all to what had happened, saw any evidence or anything, if he was willing to do that to his family, what do you think he'd be willing to do to a total stranger? I don't want to start off with a cliche, but I don't believe in the supernatural, ghosts, whatever. But I will tell you this. The story I'm about to tell you is unexplainable on my end. I don't get it. I don't want to get it. I just want to move on with my life. So this story happened to me about 6 weeks ago. I work a combination second and third shift for a manufacturing company. I get my day started at around 6 in the evening. I get off at 4:30 in the morning, 4 days a week. So getting off at that time, you see some strange stuff, but this one definitely stands out. I was listening to the radio at work, thinking I only had a half an hour left to go, when my supervisor came up to me and some of the other guys and said there was an accident on the freeway. Just avoid it and take a different route home. Great, I thought. Back roads at 4:30 in the morning, especially being in the wintertime. Deer everywhere. Perfect. So, half an hour later, I'm clocking out, getting into my truck to head home. Nothing out of the ordinary until I got to this road that leads down by the river. And I'm driving along when I see something coming the opposite way on the side of the road. The closer I get, the more I realize it's a man, an elderly man, long white hair, beard to match, wearing tattered looking clothes. And the more I look at him, the more I realize that his hands are behind his back, and it looked as if he was dragging something. So I'm one of those people that if I see something, I have to know what it is. I'm just extremely curious like that. So I flipped the truck around, and sure enough, there was an elderly man walking down the road with his hands tied together behind his back, dragging a cinder block. I roll up to the man, roll down my window about halfway, and ask if he's in trouble. He doesn't say anything. I ask him a little louder, thinking maybe he's hard of hearing. He doesn't say anything. He just continues to walk and stare blankly ahead. After about yelling at him 4 or 5 times, he finally looks over at me. Eyes locked on mine. He flashes me a smile, and all of his teeth looked decayed and came to points. He started moving towards the truck. In a panic, I stomped on the gas and got the hell out of there. I'm sorry to end the story so anticlimactically, but it's just one of those things where if you don't have to be out at 4:30 in the morning on some remote stretch of highway, don't be. Because you never know what you're going to run into. I still don't know what I ran into, and I don't think I ever want to find out. That was Truly Terrifying, Volume 4. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for listening. Also, special thank you to those that sent in their stories. One wishes to remain anonymous, and I'll put the other's name in the video. So, like I always say in closing, check under your bed, look in your closet, and sleep with the light on. The life you save may very well be your own. Good night, everyone.